Rick is in Tampa, Florida. Rick, you're on the Larry Elder Show.
Larry, first-time caller. Good to talk to you.
Thank you.
Question, I was a Democrat, and I think I voted for Biden prior, but the last time, this last election, I voted for Trump, and just, didn't want any more Bidenomics, so I'm definitely on board with Trump. The question I have for you is, what would you say to someone like my brother that's sending me, these clips on the senator talking about Trump has 100 things that he's done wrong? What would you say to someone like that?
Well, Rick, thank you so much for the call. Look, I have a brother who was and remained a lifelong Democrat, although my brother was a lifelong Democrat. In fact, I think my brother might very well have voted for Donald Trump if he had been around. But I don't know what to say. It seems to me that the facts should lead you to determine who's better for the economy. Your typical Democrat like Kamala Harris, who claims that rich people don't pay their fair share in taxes, when in fact rich people pay more than their fair share in taxes when you look at the amount of income they make versus the amount of taxes that they pay, at least federal income taxes. Look at the borders. You've got people like Joe Biden and the Democrats who for 4 years claimed that the borders could not be sealed unless there was comprehensive immigration reform, even though Trump, his first term, did not have that. Yet somehow, some way, they convinced themselves or tried to convince you that without that kind of legislation, the borders are going to remain porous. Trump comes in without any comprehensive immigration reform, and in 1 month, the border is shut down. And then there's foreign policy. I've told you this story before. Right before the 2020 election, I'm in the airport, and I run into a man who said he was a chaplain in the military, and that he did not vote for Donald Trump in 2016. He thought he was vulgar. He thought he was crass. All the things that many people don't like about Donald Trump, this chaplain felt the same way. But he told me he has a son who's in special ops. And his son said, "Dad, all of my colleagues and I feel safe with Donald Trump as commander-in-chief. Our enemies are scared bleepless." He didn't say bleep. "And our allies respect us." And he said, "Larry, all I know is that my son now feels safe. And if my son feels safe, I have no other choice but to vote for Donald Trump this time." And again, we had no new wars. And the debacle of Afghanistan, and it wasn't just that he pulled out without telling our allies. It wasn't just that 13 service members were murdered at Abbey Gate, several others injured, hundreds of Afghans killed. It wasn't just that he left $7 billion worth of cutting-edge military equipment. It wasn't that he allowed the Taliban to come back and the Afghan government to go away. It's that he said nobody advised him that that would be the result. And yet you had generals testifying under oath that that is exactly the advice they gave to Mr. President, which means Biden either ignored it or somehow didn't understand it. Either way, it is awfully, awfully scary. And remember that pier that Biden said he would build next to Gaza so that they could offload humanitarian supplies? I think we spent about $300 million. Much of the humanitarian supplies were stolen by Hamas. The pier crashed. I think they had 1 day worth of use out of it, and then they finally abandoned the project. And you want to talk about the aircraft that fell into the ocean? No one even talks about the amount of money that was spent on this pier. And then we had the Secretary of Defense, who was in the hospital for several days, and Joe Biden didn't even know it, which meant that he was not in constant contact with the Secretary of Defense. But you want to talk about Pete Hegseth? I mean, honestly. So the question is, if these kinds of things don't cause you to rethink your knee-jerk assumption to the Democratic Party, I'm not sure what will. And what about all this woke stuff, this DEI stuff? What about Gavin Newsom saying it's perfectly okay for a biological male to compete against a biological woman? What about that stuff? What about the quality of urban education, K through 12? 85% of black 8th graders can't read or do math at grade level. 13 public high schools in Baltimore, all located in the inner city. 0% of the kids can do math at grade level. And the Democratic Party opposes school choice? What about that?
For full shows, live and on demand, it's Salem News Channel.